Good morning, everyone. It's Sal Stretford Post. How you doing? And welcome to another episode of Breaking Dawn. Good morning and happy Friday to you guys. I hope you're having a fantastic Friday, or your Friday has just started. Whatever. I hope it is a great one for you, or has been a great one for you guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and smash a like on the video, guys. It'd be great if you guys could do that for me. Help the video grow, of course, guys. Absolutely. Now, look, you know what? Part of football, let me tell you something, guys, about part of football. Part of football is transfers. And nonetheless, not least in regards to Manchester United. Manchester United will be linked to players. This is what football is about, as Man United. And, Man United do have a conveyor belt of players that they are after and they are chasing. There are around 100 players on that Manchester United wish list. And it will be criminal not to mention who those players are. Because when you mention those players, you get an idea of who we need, who they are after in regards to Ineos, who they want, and what is their direction they're going in. What type of are they going after? Just youngsters? Are they bringing in some experience? Are they concentrating primarily on the pitch? Or are they, just concentrating on business only? At the end of the day, you have to look at that, and we have to analyze the players that they are after. We have to speak about the players that they are after. It's important, I know it's frustrating, but it's very important going forward in regards to football because it is our future. And of course, I'm not forgetting about the Europa League, and I know a lot of our transfer dealings, willings and dealings, whatever happens in this will be hugely down to if we win the Europa League and we get in the Champions League. If we get in the Champions League, I can foresee a decent summer for Manchester United. I still think Man United overall will spend around 200 million, not net. They will get rid of a lot of players, but Man United will spend 200 million on players. And I've said that from the beginning of this season, basically. Do you know what I mean? It feels like that way anyway. But guys, let me get into some of the news in regards to these transfers. Now, look, you know what? I had Jamie Jackson on the show yesterday. Thank you, everyone who joined me yesterday and contributed to the show. Really appreciate you all. Jamie Jackson is a guy who sits in the press conferences with our manager, Ruben Amorim, and asks our manager questions, right? So he gets an up-close view of what happens in regards to, how Ruben Amorim's feeling. You get that feeling. When you're face-to-face with someone, you get the feeling, you get the vibes, don't you? And things like that at the end of the day. But let me get into a small piece of transfer news because that is what we are here for in regards to Manchester United, of course, guys. Now, look, you know what? I tend to look at my glass half full. Look, there is a player that currently plays for Bayer Leverkusen. Now, guys, look, you know what I would say is this guy, Piero Hincapié, right? Okay, Hincapié. It's Hincapié, Hincapié. Piero Hincapié. He's a defender who plays for Bayer Leverkusen. Now, look, guys, those who've been watching this show for a long time know I have mentioned this before in Stretford Post. I've mentioned it in the summer and beyond, right? And I know about this player. Piero is I'm going to call him Piero Hincapié. He is a defender, right? He is a defender. An Ecuadorian defender who is 23 years old, guys. He has 44 caps for Ecuador with 3 goals, and he is a left back. Now, what's so enticing about this player? What's so exciting about this player? He's a centre back, he's a left back, and he's a left midfielder. What does that mean? He could play wing back. That is exactly the kind of player that we're looking for that can be versatile. Man United are looking for versatile players at the moment who can play in numerous amounts of positions. Now, Hincapié, if that's how you pronounce it, is a highly rated player. He is wanted by Liverpool. Okay, guys? Liverpool want this player. Now, what do Man United have to do? They have to, if they want him, they have to act quickly. They have to act quickly if they want this player. Yeah, because if Liverpool come sniffing around, Liverpool will be the champions. Liverpool will win the league. Liverpool will be in the Champions League. We're going to lose out on him, ain't we? It's just like Frimpong. The same thing. If we don't move, you snooze, you lose. We're going to miss out on that. Of course, we have not secured the sales of any of our players at the moment. The likes of Anthony and Rashford are still at the football club technically. So Rashford has not had his 40 million pound agreement with Aston Villa triggered yet. Anthony, well, Real Betis are saying that they can't afford Anthony at the moment. Anthony, you know what is Real Betis want another loan. I mean, and we can't have any more loans, guys. We need money. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, we can't have any more loans. We can't be a charity, guys. You know, at the end of the day, Anthony's played well in Spain. Whoever wants Anthony, we can obviously offload him, of course, for the right price. But in regards to Piero Hincapié, it's a player that I mentioned in the summer that Man United are interested in. It is an alternative to other players that we are after. For example, Jarreth Branthwaite, who's been on Man United's radar, seems like forever, isn't it? At the end of the day, the only issue is in regards to this defender is that he is valued at 50 million euros, guys. 50 million euros. Now let me bring this in because I bring everything into a level playing field, right? Where did they get Hincapié from? Where did they get this player from? Now, people, you know what? This is where scouting has to be practiced a lot more effectively. Now, this player came from Independiente del Valle, right? This is a club in Ecuador, right? And how did they sign this player, right? So he went from there, and then he ended up going to CA Talleres, right? So in South America. So what Leverkusen have done, they've gone to South America, they spotted this player, and they purchased this player for £700,000. £700,000. So this is the kind of thing that instead of going to the middleman, what Man United need to do, they need to go to the source. They need to go to the source and they need to find these players on a cheap. Because these players are available in the likes of Ecuador, Bolivia, Chile, Paraguay, wherever it is, these players are available. But we have to find these players. We have to find these players. How did Leverkusen find this player? And how is this player now worth 50 million euros? Do you know what I mean? So we got to start wheeling and dealing and try to be smart in the transfer market, of course, as well as we have been saying for a very long time, of course, guys. Now, another player Manchester United are dearly interested in is a player that I've been talking about for a very long time, and many of us have been talking about, to be honest, guys, is Victor Osimhen. Now, Victor Osimhen has rejected the chance to play for Juventus. It is said that he wants to move to the Premier League. Now, look, you know what? I like Osimhen and I want Osimhen. And that is me, right? But I wouldn't mind Gyökeres. I wouldn't mind, any other experienced striker. And I think that Man United need an experienced striker. I do believe that. But what I would say is that he is highly wanted by other clubs in the Premier League. He is wanted by Arsenal as well and wanted by a number of other clubs around Europe. So Man United won't get Osimhen easy. The key for Man United is that Osimhen is a Manchester United fan. How much weight do you put on that? I don't know. But he has rejected the chance to sign for Juventus. He wants to come to the Premier League. So that has opened the door for potential suitors to sign Victor Osimhen, of course. So let's wait and see what happens with Victor Osimhen. Man United are in the market for a new striker. So let's see what goes on there. In regards to Liam Delap, as I've said yesterday and I've said many times, we have to look at players that are going to elevate Manchester United. Are they going to elevate? If Arsenal sign Osimhen and Man United sign Liam Delap, who's improving here? Who's going to improve here? And we have to be obviously subjective and we have to be realistic with ourselves here. Do you know what I mean? We really do. But as I've been mentioning a number of times, Manchester United are not only in for players that are, well-known and household names. Man United are also in for players that you haven't heard of, most likely. Not least this player, Evan Gassand. Evan Gassand plays for OGC Nice. Now, we all know about Nice, don't we? It is Sir Jim Ratcliffe's club. Now, Gassand is 23 years old. Guessand. He is 23 years old, a striker who plays for the Ivory Coast, 8 caps, 1 goal. Now, centre forward, the most attractive thing, and I must always stress that the most attractive thing for Ineos is price, right? So when we look at price, we look at Gassand and we look at 25 million euros, right? 25 million euros for a striker. Now, people are going to say to me, right, another experimental striker. But let me tell you something about Gassand. Jason can play right winger. Jason can play left winger. Jason can play centre forward as well. So that is key, because again, as I stressed in the beginning of the show, that we are looking for versatile players who can play a front line, across the front line, as a winger, as a left winger, right winger, centre forward. We're looking at that. The more the merrier, so to speak. Do you know what I mean? More strings to their bow, so to speak, guys. Now, he played for France under 16, 17, 18, and 19, and ended up choosing allegiance with Ivory Coast. But in regards to his feelings of Ivory Coast, of course. But what I would stress is that this player he's done well this season. Now, look, guys, we can look at all day long about players and stuff like that, stats and that, but I want to bring in the stats for Jason. So he has 15 games as a right winger this season. He has scored 15 games, 8 as a right winger, 5 assists, 8 goals, 5 assists. Right winger, 15 games as a right winger, 8 goals, 5 assists. Okay. Striker, 12 games, 3 goals. Left winger, 5 games, 1 goal, 2 assists. As a right winger, he made 5 assists. As a striker, he's made 1 assist. As a left winger, he's made 2 assists. Now, as a 23-year-old, I know he's playing for OGC Nice, but as a 23-year-old, that's not too bad going when you look at his age and and you look at his reputation. You look at who he is. His price tag, for example. That is not bad going. So he is another player that Man United are interested in. Don't be surprised if a lot more is heard of Gassand, of course. And you know what? We wait and see what happens in the summer, of course, guys. Absolutely, of course, guys. And that is another player Manchester United have high on the radar as well. Look, you know what? As I said, look, guys, as I said, like I mentioned Dorgu in the summer. People are telling me we don't want to hear about transfers, rumors FC, monitoring FC, and we signed Dorgu. Right? At the end of the day. I hate to say, I'm not one of those guys that say, I told you so, but it's same with Nkape. Nkape is a player that Man United were after in the summer. Man United have been after for a while. And I mentioned him, of course, in the summer as well. So, look, guys, you know what? What I would say is that there's no smoke without fire. In particular, if credible journalists have mentioned it afterwards, we are after certain players, it's going to happen. Guys, I'm not going to put myself out on a limb here. I'm talking about when we're after players and we're linked to players, Man United will sign players this summer. There's always going to be that thing where we're going to play down the summer. Of course, they're going to play down the summer. It is a technique that business people do. They do this kind of thing. Business people play down money spending because at the end of the day, if we basically don't spend enough money, we're already expecting that psychologically, expecting that we're not going to spend that much money. But if we spend money, it's like, wow, you know what I mean? And stuff like that, because our expectations are so low. Bringing down the expectations is a very business-like thing to do. A very business-like thing to do. And I think that is basically what Ineos are trying to do. Man United will spend money. Man United will be bringing players. Are they the players that you hope for? They might not be, right? And we're not going to sign 10, 15 players. We're going to sign a few. But you know what? They might not be the players you're expecting. You might not have even heard of these players at the end of the day. And that's what it is. Let's get through some of your comments. Big up, Pearl, my friend. Big up, everyone. I'm amazed by the amount of transfers, but it's so tiresome already. Hope to be pleasantly surprised, nonetheless, when a new show starts. I got a feeling you will be, Pearl. I think you'll be excited. Sanjay, good morning, Sanjay from Valencia. I've been to Valencia. Wonderful place. Seen a few games at the Mestalla. Been there. Really, really lovely. Love Valencia. Absolutely. Big up, Earth fan. How you doing, brother? Hope you're doing well. Of course. Triple M. Good morning, Triple M. How you doing? Do you think Delat will sign for Man United? What do I think in that? Look, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised, Triple M. He is on Man United's transfer wish list. Any one of the players that I'm mentioning could possibly sign for Man United. Could possibly sign for Man United. Like I said yesterday, my dream window would be Senny Lamens in goal, right? Senny Lamens in goal. It will be Frimpong or Roger Fernandez as a right wing back. It will be Edison in midfield. It will be, what would I say? Cherki as a number 10 or Trincao as a number 10. And up front, I'll go for Gutierrez Osman. That is my dream window, but I'm not going to get my dream window. I'm pretty sure that my dream window won't come to fruition. I'm sure about that. I'm sure that there's going to be players that we're going to be missing out. We probably won't sign the positions that we need and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? I do think that what is highly underrated right now is how important a new goalkeeper is. I just don't think that Onana is that guy. He's not that guy. And even the goal against Nottingham Forest, you know what? He's just there. He's easily beaten. Side foot in the bottom corner. It's just so easy. Do you know what I mean? And I do think that Man United do need to look at another goalkeeper going forward. Of course, Shah. Morning, sir. Apparently, David Orstein has said Osimhen's like yesterday. Saudi not sure that's 100% correct. It could be, Shah, but Osimhen wants to come to the Premier League, but it depends who can afford Osimhen. Osimhen's release clause is around £62 million. It depends if Man United... It's not a swap deal, guys. When I was talking about a swap deal, it's like Man United would sell Garnacho to Napoli. Napoli would sell Osimhen to Man United. So it's technically a swap deal, but it's not a swap deal. It's a purchase, right? So basically to avoid FFP and PSR. But it is a difficult deal to do. It is a difficult deal to do because of the price, obviously, and losing out on a talent like Garnacho as well. But I personally think that he might go to Europe. He might go to the Premier League. I personally think that. I think he's too young to go to the Saudi League. But I wouldn't be surprised, Shah. But nothing is absolute at the moment. We can't say exactly what's going to happen. It's up to these players. What is a fact is that Man United are interested in Osimhen, right? And that is the fact. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, and we have to talk. We have to talk about facts, and whether Man United get him or not, whether Man United get Hincapié or Man United get Gassand, or Man United get Jerky. It is. It does. It's all about Man United want the player. Whether they go to the team, Man United is another story. That's a different story. But they want the player, and obviously I report the news on what they want. Pal, at this point, I really detest hearing that about the Atlantic United. It's a sheer lack of ambition at the club, far as I'm concerned. Look, Pearl, I don't mind, Pearl, and you make a good point, Pearl, but what I don't mind Man United signing these players, right? I really don't. But what I do mind is if Man United just sign these type of players and don't bring in any experience to complement these players. Because you can have a player like Liam Delap, who's he going to look up to in the Man United team right now? I mean, there's no one there. Do you know what I mean? And this is the problem that we've been having for many years now in regards to players, young players, not being inspired by the players around you. Look, I know you shouldn't have to be inspired to play for Manchester United, but we're dealing with a different generation. Do you know what I mean? And what I would say is that back in the class of 92, we had Andy Cole, Roy Keane, Dennis Irwin, Peter Schmeichel, and I've said it many, many times, Ryan Giggs. I've said it many times that, you know what, it's completely different now. When the young players come into Man United now, they've got no one to look up to. They've got no one to nurture them, so to speak, to learn from on the pitch. You know what I mean? Imagine if, for example, I'll give you an example, right? When Ruud van Nistelrooy was managing Man United for that brief period, Rasmus Højlund began to score goals. And then you start to ask yourself, why was Rasmus scoring goals all of a sudden? Then you realize that, oh, right, Ruud van Nistelrooy is about. Ruud van Nistelrooy is a striker. Ruud van Nistelrooy can give you spot-on advice. Now, this is the same as when you have an experienced player on the football pitch in regards to having an experienced striker, a seasoned striker, a striker who could score goals, a striker who's proven to score goals, just like midfield, just like defense. It's very important. You can't just go in the transfer window and sign 16, 17-year-olds because you can have a plan for 5 years. You're not going to get that 5 years because at the end of the day, what's going to happen is that Man United will lose. Those players will leave, and then we keep bringing in young players. They will leave. You've got to have a balance here. You've got to have a balance here. And I feel that Man United need to practice this in the summer. And obviously, we'll be watching that because you know what? You can't just sign a bunch of kids. You can't. I'm sorry. And expect us to do well. What I've seen of Liam Delap, I like him. I think he's a good player. Has he set the world alight? Has he brought Ipswich up to the downdrams of the dungeons of the league and brought them up the league? No. He is, he's been okay. He's been good. That's it. I wouldn't say. I know it's difficult to play for Ipswich. It's a different team and stuff like that. It's different pressures and stuff. But what I would say is that I don't know. And it will take up, as we said yesterday on the show with Jamie Jackson, it will take up a lot of our budget if we sign Liam Delap. It would take up around 40 million, won't it? You know what I mean? If not more. So we need to look at that as well, because obviously, and there's the Man City influence as well. So we have to obviously look at that. And Man City do have a buy-on clause. So Man United have to play more. So we're going to have to look at things smartly. We shouldn't just look at the fact that they're English and, you know what, we can sign them because they're English or Irish or Scottish. We need to look at them in a way that, you know what, they're too expensive, in my opinion. Dean Boy, my friend, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Look, you know what? You're not wrong, mate. Champions League will make a big difference to Man United's aspirations for this summer. Absolutely. Without the Champions League, Man United are not as attractive as they would be. You know, what I would say is that, we need to look at that and concentrate on winning that Champions League. Hopefully, it all goes our way. Like I said, Man United have a 22% chance of winning the Champions League, according to Polygram. We have a 22% chance of winning the Champions League, right? I say it's a bit higher, but what I would stress is that if we win the Champions League, the vibes, not only the fact that we're in the Champions League, if we win the Europa League, shall I say, not only the fact that we qualify for the Champions League, but the fact that the rest of Europe is watching. And when the rest of Europe is watching and the players are watching and they're seeing Man United lift the Europa League, they're going to say, well, Man United have got a good future. Man United have got a good future here. It's a young team, you got new owners. They got Ruben Amorim, a great young manager. It'd be more attractive to potential suitors, wouldn't it? It'd be more attractive to them if we win the Europa League and we qualify for the Champions League. And we'll have a good vibe around the club, won't we? I mean, imagine Man United win the Europa League. Imagine the vibes in the summer. Imagine how we'll be feeling. I mean, we'll be feeling pretty good, won't we? You know what I mean? We just won the Europa League, heritage and all that. Do you know what I mean? And we have a more chance of signing players, of course. Shah, the Delap links are annoying me. Don't want him. And it's like because of Wilcott's connection. What about Amorim connection for Gutierrez? Exactly, Shah. Exactly. But what we have to understand is that, I've said many times that Gutierrez wants to come to Manchester United. He's spoken to his representatives that he wants to come to Manchester United. It's his first choice. It is Ruben Amorim's first choice. Of course, Ruben Amorim wants to sign Gutierrez. Of course, if he had to choose between Leon Delap and Gutierrez, he's going to pick Gutierrez, isn't he? Because that's his player. And I think Gutierrez would be a game changer for Man United. I really do. But the only problem is the links to Arsenal, the links to other clubs as well around Europe, and also the price tag. Now, look, we're already throwing excuses out there. We're already saying that, oh, look, he's 27 and we can't sign him. He's 27, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? He's too old and he's at his peak. And, I would go after Gutierrez, just like I would go after Osman. At the end of the day, we need an experienced striker to score goals. And at the moment, we don't have that. You look at Gutierrez, the key I have, right, and it is about a striker. The most important thing I look at in a striker is that can they make something happen out of nothing, right? I was watching some highlights the other day, right, in regards to the 2002 World Cup. And it was Mexico against Italy, right? And the cross came in, right, from Mexico. The cross came in, and the Mexican defender managed to twist his body and head it this way. So it loops over the goalkeeper into the back of the net. If you watch it, 2002, Italy v Mexico, check it out, right? And then I look at that goal, and I look at I look at our strikers, right? I think that's improvisation. That's improvisation. That is what you have to do as a quality striker. If you want to make it, you have to make things happen out of nothing. We have strikers who are just expecting the ball on their feet, don't do nothing. Great strikers get the ball and make things happen. If they're not getting the ball, they'll make things happen. If they don't get the ball and they don't score a goal, they'll still make things happen in regards to that pass or creating a space for that player. They'll do something like that. And that's what we need to look at. And that I feel is what Gutierrez is. Gutierrez is one of those rare strikers these days. I'm talking about an average striker for Mexico, guys, right? This is how far football has fallen, how far it has regressed in regards to strikers in particular. Gutierrez is one of those rare breeds that makes things happen out of nothing, right? A little bit like Van Nistelrooy. He'll make things happen out of nothing. He'll do a little skill which will create the space for himself, and then he'll pull it in the back of the net. And that is the type of striker I like. And it's a type of striker that we don't have. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Shah. Big up, Shah. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're good, mate. Hope you're good. Big up, Darren. What's going on, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Absolutely. We can't always look at the cheap odds. We have to spot on, Darren. Absolutely. You know what, Darren? Yeah, this is what it is. You can't just look at the cheap options because this is how it would go, right? If Man United go down this road of buying every player we buy is going to be Aiden Heaven, for example. And no disrespect, they've been brilliant. But what I would say is that if we go down that road, 5 years down the line, a lot of those players won't be playing for Man United anymore because we'll have a serial losing mentality. We'll have a serial losing mentality and we will lose a lot of games. All right. And what happens when you lose games? You lose confidence, you lose morale, and things start to drop, don't they? Man United need to complement the young players that they want to bring in. You could bring in Liam Delap. I think he's too expensive, but you could bring in Liam Delap as long as you bring in an Osman or you bring in a Gutierrez or someone of that nature. Or if you know what I mean? You know, that's what you do. Unless they're phenomenal players like Cherky, who's jumping leaps and bounds, you know what I mean? And becoming a great player. You know, you got to look at balancing things out. You can't just have Dorgu, Aiden Heaven, you know what I mean? These type of players and a bunch of young players all across the front line and the midfield and stuff like that. It won't work, you know? You need at least the spine of the team needs to be experienced. You know, we got a clown as a goalkeeper, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, that needs to be replaced. You know, we got strikers who can't score goals. You know, we've got attackers who don't make the right choices. I'm not saying that they won't ever become the players that I hope that they will become. But what I will say is that, you know, they need to take a step out and let some experienced players play. You know what I mean? At this present time, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, have we improved from Juan Mata? Have we improved from these type of players? Have we improved from, you know what I mean, the likes of these type of players? And you have to say no. You know, you have to say no. I mean, wouldn't we be blessed with a Juan Mata right now? Do you know what I mean? And I never thought I'd say that years down the line. Do you know what I mean? And it's crazy, you know, and that we're talking about players like that right now, this year. Good morning, Kenny, you legend. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Gives out Edison, definitely. I would love Edison, absolutely. Edison is another one. Darren, like, you know, Edison, that type of player that we need. You've mentioned players on there before. I know, like, you need that type of player as well. You need that player. You need a game changer in there. Do you know what I mean? Especially Man United's midfield at the moment. It's just not, it's not there. You know what I mean? And we got a little bit of Bagel FC at the moment going on. I mean, I like Ugarte, but I think Man United need another midfielder in there. Let's not downplay Mainu, but I think the responsibility that's been put on Mainu so soon, I think it's damaging him, if I'm being totally frank. I think it's damaging him, and I feel like we need another midfielder in there to complement those players in the midfield, of course. And also, healthy competition. Healthy competition is so important at football, isn't it? I mean, you need healthy competition. That would be the best window ever, but not going to happen, unfortunately. Nah, probably not, Triple M. Probably not. It probably won't happen. You know what? In regards to the names I mentioned there, you know what I mean? It would be a dream come true. It would be, but I don't think Man United will do that. I mean, if they did that, you have to say that you have to really praise them. If Man United had a Senny Lamens in goal, a Frimpong or a Fernandes as a right wing back, an Edison as a midfielder, a Cherky or Trincao as a number 10, and an Osman or Gutierrez as a number 9, what would you guys be thinking? You'd be like, wow, Ineos are moving like a boss. But we know that that's not going to happen, innit? We know that is unrealistic and it's never going to happen. Well, we got FFP and we got PSR. Well, that is the excuse. I wish they removed it so they could find out another excuse. Like they'll probably say that their dog ate the money. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous, you know, these excuses that Ineos bring into the equation. And, you know, and Man City don't give a damn about it. Chelsea obviously don't give a damn about it. It is what it is. Amak, I heard that Osman is strongly considering Saudi the camera. The fact is that and the mercenary, that's not probably one reason why he's willing to come to United. With that, Champions League football. The only way Man United could possibly sign Osman, and I absolutely agree, Amak, is Champions League football. If we don't qualify for the Champions League football, our pool of talent that we could attract will be lower and lower. We need Champions League football. If we don't get Champions League football, are Man United as attractive? If Osman leaves Galatasaray or Napoli, should I say, If he goes to Saudi, he's a mercenary, wouldn't he? But one thing is for certain, Almac, is that Man United are after Osimhen. Man United want Osimhen, and he is on our wish list. Whether we get him or not is another story. It's down to him at the end of the day and Man United. If he goes to Saudi, then it's just like even Tony, isn't it? It's just like even Tony wasting away his career. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, at his age, at a peak age, like him, perfect age, and it'd be a disappointment. But if someone's throwing £500,000 a week at you, and then what are you going to do? You're going to take the money, or you're just going to go to Man United and hope that we one day qualify for the Champions League on 100 grand. It's difficult, isn't it? At the moment, that's where we are. Philip, Liam Delap would be similar type signing to Alan Smith. Alan Smith, unfortunately, career was harmed by injury, got an injury. If I'm being honest, Philip, when we signed Alan Smith, it was very underwhelming. I felt like Alan Smith had passed his best. He played well for Leeds, was brilliant for Leeds, the Leeds United team that qualified for the Champions League semi-final, of course. I felt he was a very decent player, but not the player that Man United need. But when needed at the time, I felt that he just wasn't at that quality. But when I look at him now, it's funny, isn't it, when you look at things in hindsight and you look at things in the past, and you feel like Alan Smith is probably a better striker than any striker we have right now. And let's be honest, guys, it's mad, isn't it? It's mad. You look at the team from left to right, from defense from midfield. You look at that and you think that those players are better than what we have right now. And why is that? Why is that? Do you know what I mean? We should be improving, not declining. You know what I mean? Unfortunately. In terms of experience, defense is good. Midfield okay. And attack, no experience at all. Yeah, we're about mismatch of players, Charlam. We're a mismatch of players. We don't have a team. We have a bunch of individuals. That's pretty evident when we're playing during the game. You can tell that we're basically chancing it. We're winging it, so to speak, every game. And I feel like Man United need to go in a direction and stick by that direction, right? But it has to be a direction that is a direction potential to win, not win in 5 years. Because I've already said this many, many times. Winning in 5 years is not what I'm interested in. England said they're going to win the World Cup in 2010. In 2010, England said they're going to win the 2022 World Cup, and they aim to win the 2022 World Cup. One thing you don't do, especially when you're managing a team like Man United, you don't discount years. You don't throw away years, because what does that do? When you say that, Uncle, we want to win the league in 5 years, what message does that send to the players that are currently at the football club? We got 5 years. I know it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that. But you're looking at players who will take every single little opportunity to down tool here. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. And it's going to be like, you know what? They're going to be like, 5 years. Yeah, we got 5 years. Don't worry about it. We got 5 years. You should never. We should aim to win the next game. The next game. The most important thing is the next game. Win the next game. We have to win every game. We're Man United. We have to win every game. I don't want to hear about 5 years. That is how I want my owner to speak. I don't want to hear about 5 years. I want to hear about now. We're Man United. Why are Nottingham Forest up the league? We're Man United. We should be up the league. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, look, I don't want to hear about what's going to happen in 5 years. Buy myself some time, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear about what's happening right now at the end of the day, not what's going to happen in the future. If we're still here, God willing, in the future. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. Amak, have you watched much of Delap? Is he good to be starting? My guess he would be better than Højlund. Højlund isn't elite. I wouldn't know. Amak, I would say, right, I'm going out on a limb here. I would say that Delap is slightly more effective than Højlund. But what I would say is that Delap is a different player to Højlund. He's a different player completely. He plays more as the number 10 behind the two strikers. He's not a centre forward, number 9. He's a number 10 type of player. I would say that he's going to be a better player than Rasmus Højlund. But Rasmus Højlund is not as bad as people think. As you've seen before the international break, he didn't play against Nottingham Forest. He came on as a substitute. But as you saw, he was starting to score goals. And to be honest with you, I do believe that Rasmus Højlund has what it takes. But what I say is that we can't wait forever. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, and he has to start putting that ball in the back of the net more often. But what I would say is that right now you can't compare Leon Delap to Rasmus Højlund, two different players. You know what I mean? And but I would say that if in an effective kind of way, if you were going to pick a player to make a difference at Man United, Højlund or Delap probably ceiling is higher. It probably cause more problems. But that's not to say that Rasmus won't come back and you know what, be a success. Shah, how about tell Gigueras camp that wait till May and see if the Champions League or not, but we're not going to buy him until 1st of June to the financial year. It's a good point, Shah, but you know, at the end of the day, what the thing is that if Liverpool come in, if Arsenal come in, is he going to wait for Manchester United? Is he going to wait for Manchester United? And you know, we have to think about the player here. Like, you know, he's probably thinking, you know what? If I don't accept Liverpool or Arsenal, I might lose my opportunity. Arsenal might sign Osimhen, for example. You know, I might lose my opportunity. So why would he wait? Why would he wait for Man United to potentially, and it's big potential, and it's a very low potential, but you know what, it is a possibility, but you know, it is a high chance that Man United win the Europa League. And that's what we have to look at, you know, what he thinks. You know, he's going to look at it and think, right, Man United have to win the Europa League for me to qualify, for me to sign for Manchester United. So they got to beat Lyon, they got to beat probably Athletic Bilbao, and then they got to win the final. What you thinking if Arsenal come calling right now and Arsenal say, right, here's the money, here's the deal, Arsenal Champions League, what do you say? What do you say? Is he going to say, no, wait. I want to see what Man United do. I want to see what Man United do first in January, first in July, first. I want to see what they do first. I just don't think it's going to be realistic. You know, of course, there is the story about obviously all this thing about Ruben Amorim and Gigueras, and wasn't there one with Quenda as well? You snooze, you lose at the end of the day. Unfortunately, we're in that situation right now where Man United don't have Champions League football and are not looking likely to get Champions League football. If Man United was second or third right now in the Champions League positions, then yeah. But we're not. We're not even in Europa League positions. People will look at the league table and they think, oh my goodness me, they're 13th. Flipping hell, fire. Goodness me, it's terrible. You know what I mean? Not quite as bad as Tottenham, but there you go. But yeah, and I would say that, you know what, unless guys, the only possibility I would say is that we sell them a project. We sell them a project. Barada, Vivell, Wilcox, Jim Ratcliffe. You know what I mean? They sell Brailsford. They sell Gigueras as a project. They sell him it. You know what I mean? They talk the talk to Gigueras, and you know, and he falls for it. And he says, well, I like this project. I'm excited about this project. But also, we've heard about this before, haven't we? We've heard about projects before, haven't we, at the end of the day? Big up Sniper Man. Big up Charlotte. Big up Sniper Man. How you doing, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you, mate. Good to see you, of course. We need a nice playmaker, a centre midfield, top finisher, in form of number 10 or a striker. Look, this is what I'm saying. And GK, I brought this in yesterday in regards to Man United, right? And I say this, right? I say this in regards to my experience of watching football. If you're going to play two number 10s, right, you don't need road runners. You don't need road runners. Yes, they need pace a little bit, but you need more of a Bergkamp, a Berbatov type of player. Do you know what I mean? That type of player, a finesse type of player. That type of player finesses the ball, can bring the ball forward. A Rooney, you know, can get that ball in that little pocket and create things and stuff like that. You don't necessarily need road runners. Unfortunately, what Man United have in Ahmad, in Garnacho, we have road runners, right? It's number 10. So when you have runners who just run in number 10, they're more inclined to go out on the wings. You know what I mean? And when you go out on the wings, you don't really have any creativity, especially when those wingers are not crossing the ball. Do you know what I mean? And this is the problem. You know, we need more finesse in that middle of the pitch. Just behind the strikers, we need a Bergkamp. We need a Berbatov kind of player who can get that ball, chest it down, a Sheringham, that type of player. We need that type of player, guys. We really do. That guy who can finesse it. Look, people will talk about, oh, but for Bruno's that. He's not. He's not got that pass, that touch, that eye of a needle ability to make that killer pass. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't have that. More times than not, he's hitting it into row Z. We need more finesse. We need more like as I said, a Sheringham, a Bergkamp, a Rooney. Do you know what I mean? A Berbatov, that type of player I feel we need as a number 10, especially if we had a couple. You can have two different ones, but we need one of those. We need one of those who can get that ball and make something happen. Do you know what I mean? They pick it up from deep and they can make it do a little dummy, a skill, play along, like, you know what I mean, with the other attacker and create spaces. But unfortunately, we don't have that at the moment. We have guys who get the ball, run, rabbit, shoot the gun, run, like a dog race. Anyone ever seen dog racing? Greyhound. They shoot the gun and the dog goes, they run. That's what we have at the moment. Big up Beef Bully, big up GK, big up Beef Bully. How you doing, my friend? I'll be doing well. Good to see you, mate. If we do not prove a striker, it'll be difficult next season. FM, big up FM. Thanks for joining me again, my friend. Absolutely agree. If we don't buy an experienced striker, I do think we will struggle because strikers, it is a specialist position. And you know what they say? You're born as a... I remember hearing it many years ago. You know, strikers are born, not made. You know, like, you know what? You're prolific at a young age. It's like a gift that you're given. I remember being when Michael Owen broke through the scenes, and I hate to bring in Michael Owen, Wayne Rooney, these type of players. I remember when they broke through the scene, you could automatically see that these guys are absolutely incredible and they're going to score a lot of goals. I don't like looking at players and thinking, you know what, maybe he might, you know, nurture him a little bit. I know, but Man United need, that's the only, you know, you need, unless it's a player of the Rooney, of the Owen ability, which I don't think there is right now. I think Man United need to buy a experienced striker. And I agree, Ephraim. I agree. I think Man United do need an experienced striker. If there's one position on the pitch that Man United need as experience right now, is striker area. It really is at the end of the day. We would be oozing sauce in 5 years. Absolutely. We'd be oozing sauce. We'd be oozing tears, mate. Absolutely, Kenny, at the moment, if we go by the direction that we're going in. Look, I'm not saying that just to scrap the young player thing, but you got to mix it up. You got to mix it up a little bit. You know, you can't just buy all kids. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, look, for example, I'll give you an example. Dorgu, right? Dorgu's been excellent since he came to Manchester United, but look at him against Nottingham Forest, right? Started to give away the ball a little bit, panicked a little bit because he's young. He's a great player. He's going to be a great player, but he's young. He's going to make mistakes. Man United need experience as well. Man United, who is Dorgu going to look at when he makes a mistake? Is he going to look at Bruno going like this, like that? Or is he going to, you know, or is he going to look at a Roy Keane who goes, come on, you got this. You know what I mean? What's wrong with you? You got this. You know what I mean? And I just feel like, you know what, we need to balance it out a little bit. Ephraim, I think they are hiding behind FFP. Even there is no FFP, they cannot buy experienced player. I think they're hiding behind a lot of things, Ephraim. I think they're making a lot of excuses for themselves. I read people very well, especially Jim Ratcliffe. When he had that interview with Gary Neville, I saw that he didn't want to look at Gary Neville in the eye. He was lying. They're just hiding behind things. FFP and PSR is just a great excuse for the billionaires. That's what I would say. It's just a great excuse for the billionaires. Do you think Chelsea care about FFP, PSR? Do you think Man City care about that? They don't give a damn about that. They don't care. They just get on with it and do their business and fight it out in court, and which could take years anyway. Do you know what I mean? And that's what they do, of course. And I think Man United need to have some more guts in regards to that. We should take good players, not flops. Overrated mercenaries need to bin bare boys. Absolutely, Beef, agree. No more mercenaries. No more players that want just money. We want players that want the best for Manchester United. We want players that love Manchester United at the end of the day. Absolutely, Beef. Steve, morning. I know it's not a priority, but if we get another keeper one day, we will be looking at a far better football playing keeper under Amram's style, or just someone that reliable in goal. Steve, look, I mentioned him earlier in the show, mate. I mentioned it in the show. There is no substitute for a great goalkeeper. I cannot fathom how important a goalkeeper is. I cannot stress how important a goalkeeper is. A great goalkeeper, a confident goalkeeper between the sticks. When you look at the history of Man United and you think about when Peter Schmeichel left the football club and we had various goalkeepers who came in, obviously Fabian Barthez, Ramin van der Haar was in there for a time, Carroll was in there for a time, Tim Howard was in there for a time, Valdez was in there for a time. And you look at Man United never looked like the same team without Schmeichel, did they? Until they signed Van der Sar. Now, look, you know what? When I see Onana, I think that a lot of things, like someone once told me, right? The most difficult position on the pitch is the goalkeeper. And I don't disagree with that. It is, because the goalkeeper, he's the start of everything. The goalkeeper is your confidence. He's your man between the sticks. He's the guy who gets rid of, like, calms you down. Schmeichel used to get that ball, right? One hand, calm down, go up. I've got this, go up. And hoof the ball like that to Ryan Giggs or Andre Kanchelskis or someone like that. Do you know what I mean? He used to do that. With Onana, it's like he'll get the ball and he'll go, and then he'll go like that. And he start pointing his hand like this, and then like he'll do something stupid. He'll pass it to Dalot, and that we all know what Dalot does. He'll give away the ball. And this is the situation that we're having. This is the situation I'm having. So I cannot stress how important and how imperative a goalkeeper is, in my opinion. Big up, Darren. Who is your choice for striker if we don't get Champions League football? Would Calampos Kustalos make your list? He seems like an Ineos project type player. It'd probably be someone like what would I say? Jonathan David, someone like that. Someone more experienced than Kostoulas. Kostoulas is playing in Greece, Mac. He's another project player. He won't score goals in the Premier League straight away. He will take time. He probably is a good player, but you know what? We're linked to him, obviously. But I would say that he would be a project player again. And then you have to look at it. If Rasmus Højlund was playing in Greece, how many goals would Rasmus Højlund score? Be real. 20, 30? And that's what I would say. We don't have 5 years. Some of us are not guaranteed 5 years. So at the end of the day, 5 years is a buy time project. It's a buy time technique that business people use. They're trying to buy time so that when, you know what, when it gets to, if we don't win anything in the next couple of years, they're going to say, well, we did say 5 years. It's going to be a 5-year project. Stick with the plan. Stick with the plan. We don't want to hear that. We've had 12, 13 years of plans, of process. We want success now. I'm tired of waiting around and stuff like that. And I feel that Ruben Amorim needs to be back. Their biggest concern is not in 5 years. Their biggest concern is not 5 years' time. Their biggest concern is backing Ruben Amorim this summer. That should be their biggest concern. I don't want to hear about 5-year projects. I want to hear about backing Ruben Amorim this summer. That is what it's all about for me. I don't care about, you know, what we're going to do in 2030. I want to hear about what we're doing now. You know what I mean? What the plans for next season. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, absolutely. Shah. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, Shah, I remember, as I said, I remember watching the World Cup 2009, 2010, I think it was 2010. And I remember the FA of England said that it wasn't 2010, actually, it was 2006. The FA said that we aim to win the World Cup for England in 2022. So we are thinking, England will be ready to win the World Cup in 2022. Let's go. 2022 comes, you're not there. You're not winning. You got knocked out. You know, at the end of the day, you don't plan for things. Football is only about the next game. That is all you have to care about, is the next game. That is what football is. You think Alex Ferguson went into the football club, you know what I mean? And thought, you know what, in 5 years, we'll be all right. You think in 5 years, we'll be all right. I remember Man United won the league in 2003, and then 2004, 2005, and 2006, Man United were a little bit not good, right? I mean, they're a lot better than we are now, but they weren't as good as we were. And we knew we had to win. We still won things, right? But we knew we had to win the league. And 3 years was way, way, way too much. And we were like, no, we have to win the league. I mean, then we won the league in 2007. But all through that time, you could see what Sir Alex Ferguson was building. You could see a great team up and coming with Rooney, with Van Nistelrooy, with Ronaldo, with these players, you know what I mean? With Vidic. And, you know, you could see it happening. And, I feel like you can't put a time frame on success with teams like Man United. If Real Madrid, right, came out and said, right, we're not going to win the league this season. It's going to be Barcelona's for the next 5 years. What will Real Madrid, the Madristas, do? What would they do? Would they be happy with that? Would they be happy with that? Even if you said to Juventus in Italy, you're not going to win a league for 5 years, would they be happy with that? Bayern Munich, would they be happy with that? PSG, even Barcelona wouldn't be happy with that too. They wouldn't be happy with 5 years we're not going to win the league. You know what I mean? No one, Man United, a club like Man United should not be talking about projects in 5 years. We should be talking about now. We shouldn't be talking about what's going to happen in 5 years. Who knows what's going to happen in 5 years? We might have a world war in 5 years. Who knows what's going to happen in 5 years? We want to know what's going to happen this season, this summer, this next season as well. That's what we want to know. What are your plans for next season? How are we going to elevate ourselves? How are we going to move up that league? That's what I would say. Sheena, what's going on? Hope you're doing well. How can we win? We always attack our best forwards and keep players who pass backwards at 80 minutes per game. How can we, when we always attack our best forwards? Look, in my opinion, Sheena, at the end of the day, criticism is part of the game. Without criticism, you do not improve. I don't agree with abuse. I don't agree with attack. No one attacks our players on here. None of us. This community is very educated. We don't attack our players. What we do is critique, and we suggest ways that they can improve, right? What we have to do is look at things for what they are. We're not scoring goals, right? And we have to look at that. And we have to ask ourselves, how are they going to score goals? What is the problem? Will these players improve with experienced players around them? Which is very, very important, which we don't have. And that is what we're saying at the moment. Many of our players in our current football team, you're absolutely right, Sheena, don't pass forward. I wouldn't say all of them. I would say the likes of Dalot like to pass backwards. I think a lot of our players are not confident, but this has been like this for a few years now, Sheena. This has been like this for a few years. And I would say that is a confidence thing. That's a worry. And this needs to change, of course. But no one is discounting the other players. People are not just attacking the attackers. They're attacking other players as well. But not attacking, but they're criticizing. None of us abuse players on here. None of us attack players on here. We don't have agendas. For me, I'm a big fan of Garnacho. People know that on me. I've had people on here saying I back him too much. For me, as people have been seeing on this show, I do look at things in a balanced perspective in regards to Rasmus Højlund. I don't just attack him. I do look at it and I do give him the benefit of the doubt. No one does that on here. But you know what? At the end of the day, criticism is very important in life in general. I was raised on a successful Manchester United throughout the years. I knew where we come from. 40 years ago, I started supporting this football club. Right, and I know the direction we went. I know the steps we had to take, the sacrifices we had to make. I know what we had to do. And I know what we have to do now. Almac, I think that we get 3 points and Turkey, our forwards would automatically look better. They would draw defenders and catch them in. Absolutely spot on. Great comment, Almac, because it's not just about buying attackers. One player can change the whole dynamic of the team, Almac, absolutely. And for example, I mentioned many times about signing a right wing back, right? If we sign a right wing back, for example, Frimpong, a Roger Fernandez or someone like that, if we sign that and they end up being successful, the balance of our side will be so much better. And what happens when your team is balanced? What happens when your team is balanced? I bring in the 1998-1999 Champions League final, like I always do. I bring that in every single time. Let me tell you something about the Champions League final. Paul Scholes, Roy Keane was suspended for the Champions League final in 98-99. We moved David Beckham into central midfield. We moved Blomqvist onto the left of midfield. And Ryan Giggs, who is a famous left winger, moved to right midfield. We lost our balance of a great side. We lost our balance. Look at the way we played. We couldn't create. We weren't really doing anything. We weren't getting the crosses in. We were imbalanced. Now, if we sign a Frimpong, a Roger Fernandez, and we sign a Cherki as at number 10, the flair of Cherki, which we need, you will see absolutely, Almac, a completely different Manchester United team. You will see that, absolutely. You will see a completely different Man United. It's not just about, we need attackers, and that's what we need. It is about a balance, isn't it? It's about a balance, and I feel that if Man United do that in the summer, I think you'll see a lot better Man United team, especially with the pre-season under Ruben Amorim. I hope, one thing I would say, and I'll stress, I hope that I really do hope that we get the deals done early. I hope that we get the deals done early, absolutely. Big up, Baz. How you doing, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Osman can't wait for Europe. Osman can't wait for Europe if they don't want him. Osman has been waiting for, we just look, wait and lose. Look, at the end of the day, if Osman wants to go to Saudi Arabia, then that says a lot more about Osman than Manchester United, than everything. You know what I mean? That is money. At the end of the day, Osimhen is playing for Galatasaray at the moment, right? Man United are interested in Osimhen, but obviously Osimhen wants Champions League football, Zena. Right now, Man United can't guarantee Champions League football because Man United are 13th in the Premier League. Man United need to win the Europa League, and we have a 22% chance of winning the Europa League. Now, look, no one knows where Osimhen is going this summer. There's links to Saudi Arabia. Osimhen might go to Arsenal, Sheena. I love Osimhen. I think he's a great player. People know me on this channel. There's no point getting emotional about things that don't matter because at the moment, no one knows what's going on in Osimhen's head right now. We don't know, do we? So we have to obviously look at things diplomatically. We have to look at things like, well, you know what? Let's wait and see what happens. He might come to Man United. I would love him to come to Man United. Of course I would. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. But at the end of the day, that's not down to us as well. That's not solely, exclusively down to Manchester United. That is down to Osimhen. And that is if Man United qualify for the Champions League. That is the only thing we can look after. There's not one team in Europe that don't want Osimhen. But there's also issues with Osimhen, right? Which I've explained because I'm close to Napoli, right? There is also issues with Osimhen. Okay, so at the end of the day, I know a lot of people in Napoli and I know what he's done and said. Okay, if you looked at the images the other night of him running around the pitch fighting a Turkish player, you would know. But I still want Osimhen, right? I still want Osimhen. And at the end of the day, look, we can't just say, oh, we don't get Osimhen, that's it. You know what I mean? Just, we're about Man United here. He don't play for Man United. You know what I mean? Then if he wants to come for Man United and he wants to play for that badge, let's go. If he doesn't, you're a mercenary, get lost. I couldn't care less, honestly. Because at the end of the day, Man United are in no position to be, you know what I mean, crying over players. We need to just get players who want to play for Man United at the end of the day. Ephraim, who is more suited for number 10, Cherki or Cunha? For me, Ephraim, Cherki. And the reason I say Cherki is because Cunha this season has not impressed me like he did last season. And I would say that Cherki has more of a ceiling. That's what I would say. But I would also argue, Ephraim, that Cunha would be, I wouldn't be unhappy with Cunha. I'll be happy with Cunha. I think he'll be great. I think he'll be a good signing in the end. I think he'll improve under Ruben Amorim. I think he'll be good. But Cherki excites me more. I don't know why. It just excites me. I think he's got more of a ceiling. We'll be like Spurs in a few years if we carry on like this, definitely. Gomez, bring in, worth it. He signed a new contract, Beef Bully, just recently with Wolves. If you're thinking of the Wolves, Gomez, he's just signed a new contract this week. Baz, Ineos picked Amorim because he built a winning team on the cheap. Don't be surprised if we bring in 2 free transfers. As long as he builds a winning team at Manchester United, that's all I care about, mate. That's all I care about. As long as he builds a winning team at Man United, that is all I care about. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, whether it's cheap, expensive, it doesn't matter. As long as it works. If it works, it works. By hook or by crook, as long as it works, it works. That's all I care about. 5 years, anything can happen. Hopefully, the rat has gone. More teams will get better out of City's verdict. Absolutely. This is the thing, Beef. This is the thing that they ignore. They ignored the fact that Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool are going to get better. It's not that they're going to stand still and go, all right, we'll wait for Man United to catch up. Let's wait. No. Let's wait until Man United catch up. You know what I mean? In 5 years' time, we might be worse. Liverpool, Man United, Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal might be better. You can't be making plans, you know, on the future, especially 5 years. 1 year is long enough in football. And you talk about 5 years. For me, it's just a ploy to save time, to buy time, should I say. It's just a ploy to buy time, in my opinion. In my humblest of opinion, I think it's just a ploy to buy time. Sorry, guys. I just think it's that, you know what I mean, at the end of the day. But yeah, let's wait and see what happens. Attacking right wing back is most probably more important than a striker. Absolutely, Baz. It's very important, mate. A right wing back is so important. What Baz is saying, Jay, is that if you have balance to your side, football doesn't deal with absolutes, right? If you have balance to your side, you're more inclined to create chances. You create more chances for the strikers. As I was mentioned earlier in the show about 98, 99, when we had to reshuffle our team in the final of the Champions League, and we had no balance, and you saw the difference. Man United need balance. Yes, we need both. In theory, in an ideal world, Jay, we need both. We need both. Of course we do. But obviously having a natural right wing back would improve Man United tenfold. Absolutely. Guys, thank you for joining me. You absolute legends. Please don't forget to put your notifications on. If I go live later on for Chatterbox, I might bring you the press conference of Ruben Amorim, of course, coming up. Please don't forget to smash a like on the video, guys. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Very important. If you guys could do that for me, that'd be absolutely fantastic. Much love to you all. Bring on the weekend. Man City, Manchester Derby. I've got the Manchester Derby match preview coming up. So don't forget to miss that, guys. Thank you very much for joining me. You're all absolute legends. Don't forget to smash the like, guys. Take it easy. See you later. Peace.